Hi there, and welcome to another lunar report with me, Manda O'Brien, the Astrology Mystica. And my contribution to the world of astrology is very much about using astrology to know who you are, to awaken on a deeper level to who you are through the connection with the bigger picture of what's going on in the cosmos and how those energies are playing out and what opportunities are available to attune ourselves to these cosmic frequencies that are showering in our direction and rippling in our direction at all times, and in a constant state of flux and change, and yet with some kind of deep divine harmony that can be seen and felt when you tune into it. So on this channel, I'm using True Sky Astrology, 13 sign zodiac, and this is really the only system out there that uses the natural sky as it is. So if you're someone that really values being in tune with reality, with nature as it is, then this is the system for you, because tropical and Vedic systems, any charts that they create, are man-made and do not reflect nature. They're basically dead systems in terms of the charts that they calculate in the system that they're using. So welcome to the True Sky. Welcome to attuning yourself with nature. And thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate your presence and your interest and your curiosity. And welcome to anyone who's new to my channel. So let's get into it here. We're coming into this full moon on May 1st, which will be in the final degrees of Virgo. This is our second full moon in Virgo. We started the lunar cycle with a new moon in Pisces, which was our second new moon in Pisces. So the beginning of this year has actually been a very powerfully transformative and deeply spiritual time collectively, because we've had two new moons in Pisces. And with the lunar calendar, the 13-month lunar calendar, which is not synchronized with the 12-month Gregorian calendar, the 13-month lunar calendar is synchronized with nature. And there are 13 lunar months in a year, approximately 28 days for each month. And Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac, being the last new moon of the lunar year. So this new moon that we just had on April 17th was the completion of the lunar year. And being in Pisces had a lot to do with our soul connection to Source and deeper, more mystical layers of who we are and getting in touch with that. And so we began this last lunar month on April 17th, and now we're approaching the climax, the peak of that energy cycle that's been building since April 17th. And it's always in the opposite sign, or mostly in the opposite sign. And here we have a full moon in Virgo at 47 degrees of Virgo, very close to the cusp of Libra. So this energy has been building since April 17th, and it's always interesting in any lunar month to see what shows up at the beginning of the month, which would have been April 17th and the week following that. What new energies have come in? whether they be internal or external, and how you've been feeling, because Pisces is a very feeling sign, very intuitive. And its opposite sign, Virgo, is more on the analytical, more on the rational side of things, and more connected with how our mind works, our analytical mind. And also, Virgo has a lot to do with our connection to service and being of service in terms of being in tune with the universe's intention rather than being a servant or being in servitude. That would be the more unconscious expression of Virgo. But the conscious expression is being in service to the divine, and also having a pure connection with our own nature. Virgo is an earth sign. It's very connected with nature, connected with healing, with our experience of our body in our daily life. And my sense is, with this full moon being here and being in the middle of this Pisces lunar month, that it has a lot to do with healing and releasing and dissolving Pisces. Any analytical process that rejects who you are as you are, the self-critical talk, the opinions of others, the comparisons with others, all of this type of inner dialogue that can happen with Virgo being ruled by Mercury and having quite an analytical nature in the mental capacities. So this full moon to me is illuminating and giving the opportunity to complete patterns in the mind that have to do with rejecting our essential nature, who we are designed to be, and holding ourselves to a level of perfection that is impossible, that the mind is never satisfied. It's always reaching into the future, comparing with the past. It's never able to just be in the present and accept and embrace what is. Because when you're in the present and you're embracing and accepting what is, the mind is not there. It can't exist. It has to be in movement from past to future. So I feel this full moon is a great opportunity to see, to become aware of any patterns in the mind that are self-critical, self-rejecting, and holding oneself to an impossible standard of perfection, and taking our attention away from just enjoying the moment, enjoying being here, enjoying being on this beautiful planet that is alive and conscious and providing us with everything we need. And the ruler of this full moon would be Mercury. And if we look at the chart here, we can see that Mercury is conjunct Chiron up here at the top at 37 degrees of Pisces. This is very powerful. Mercury is our communication, our local movement, but mostly it has to do with how our mind is operating and how we're communicating and listening and receiving information. And conjunct Chiron, who's the centaur of the wounded healer, and the wound that we're healing throughout our lifetime, that we may have brought in with us, that may be at the core of our wounding, something that's connected with our spiritual connection, being in Pisces, the wounding around our connection to life itself. And of course, as with any of these lunar cycles, you're going to get more specific information if you go down below in the description and click the link to look at your own true sidereal chart. It's a free service. And then you can see which house the end of Virgo occupies, Virgo down there at the bottom, and also which house the end of Pisces. In fact, Pisces will most likely be 2 houses in your chart, and Virgo the same, because they're the largest constellations. And we're using the constellations in their natural sizes here. So you can take a look and see where this illumination, the full moon here at 47 degrees of Virgo, is happening for you. And also on the polarity point where this Mercury Chiron conjunction is happening, which house. And this will give you more specific information, because I'm just reading the collective energies here. And also if you have any placements in Virgo close to this 47 degree area, or any placements in Pisces, this is going to be especially powerful for you, because it's going to have a direct triggering of whatever you have present in those areas, whatever planets. So in this chart we can see that there is a square from Mercury and Chiron to Pluto. And Pluto is such an important presence in our lives. It has such a powerful impact. And we can see it in the world right now. Since Pluto moved into Capricorn, Capricorn ruling organizations, governments, institutions, social conditioning, social ideologies, social moralities, religions, we can see since Pluto entered into Capricorn, there has been a lot of upheaval in the world, in the physical world, Capricorn being an earth sign. And this upheaval that's going on when it's connected with Pluto, its ultimate end is to transform society. And the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, and Saturn is up there at 19 degrees of Pisces. And we've just come through a very powerful spiritual transit with Saturn and Neptune over the last year. That was exact in February, right before we had our lunar eclipses. So there's been so much going on that has to do with moving us in the direction of our destiny as a soul. And with Saturn being in Pisces and Pluto being in Capricorn, and there being a flow of energy, a sextile there between them, this transit of Pluto is having a very spiritual impact, because Pisces is, to me, the most spiritual sign, in the sense that it has to do with your connection to Source and to the dissolving of the idea of separation, the ego construct. And this is all a natural part of our evolution as a soul. But Pluto plays a very powerful role right now in society, and it will be for the next 15 years or so, revealing the dark shadow side of society. and the hidden aspects of what's going on in the world. And you can see it if you look at, various subjects online, that all kinds of hidden truths, dark hidden truths about the people who've been running the world and organizations that serve them, that's been coming out, and also the dark side of religion, that we have these wars that are religiously based and belief systems to do with religion. And what does religion, true religion, have to do with war? These two things don't go together. To me, true religion is accepting diversity and having compassion and a willingness to meet in the middle and to harmonize. And we don't see that going on at all in the world. We haven't seen that going on for thousands of years. So Pluto's doing a very important job here, breaking down and revealing the dysfunctionality of these systems that we've had to live in, that have been very dysfunctional and insane in many ways. But on a personal level, with Mercury and Chiron square to Pluto at this full moon, there's a very, very powerful opportunities for some revelation of wounding that you're ready to see and release. And it would be a great time for any kind of writing or dialoguing or expression that has to do with any illuminating information that comes through at this time for you around your own wounding with yourself, your rejection of yourself, or your rejection of life, a lack of trust in the bigger picture. Because that's what keeps us in separation, is a lack of connection with the source of creation, and a lack of trust in ourselves, our own true nature, and a lack of trust in life itself. And it's easy to understand that when you look at the world. When you look at the violence and the craziness and the deception that goes on in the world, it's easy to lose faith, to lose trust in the universe. But these are two different things. Everything that's going on in the world is man-made, man-created. And I don't mean men, I mean just humanity. Human beings are creating a lot of this suffering and a lot of this disharmony and violence and destruction. And for us individually, it can be challenging to stay connected to your soul, to the light, to what you know to be true. So if any shadow energy is showing up for you, is being revealed to you right now, anything you've repressed, any ways in which you've been rejecting yourself, judging yourself, holding yourself to a standard of perfection that has come from a standard from outside of you. Pluto square Mercury and Chiron is giving you an opportunity to see this and to understand it so that it can integrate and you can be free of this perception. It's a false perception. It's a learned perception, collective perception. So also in this mix, there's so much going on here, but also in this mix we have Jupiter on the left-hand side of the chart there at 20 degrees of Gemini, and he's trine to the moon and also sextile to the sun, or actually not sextile to the sun, square to Mars and Saturn. So this trine from Jupiter to the full moon in Virgo is really beautiful. It's going to expand that illumination. And Jupiter in Gemini to me has a lot to do with communication, our inner dialogue and our outer expression. And it has a lot to do with the balancing of the left and right brain, our intuitive capacity and our rational capacity. And with all this energy in Pisces, it's giving a lot of strength and focus, especially with the full moon, on our intuitive capacity. So you could find a lot of intuitive connections and information coming in with this full moon illuminating these areas, and it being in Virgo, which is also ruled by Mercury, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So there's a harmonious energy here between Jupiter, the planet of blessings and gifts and good fortune and expansion. And there's a nice flow of energy between that and the moon. So that's one aspect of this full moon. And of course, it's all connected to this lunar month that we're in, which began in the energy of Pisces. So it's all about our soul, our own connection to our soul, and our connection to Source. So up here we have also on the left side of the chart, we have Uranus at 9 degrees of Taurus, and Venus there at 17 degrees of Taurus in her home sign. And they are having a trine with Pluto, which is a positive flow of energy with Pluto. So there's a lot of love, a lot of support here from Venus and compassion to have this for yourself, to have compassion for yourself in whatever process you're in whatever challenges you're dealing with, in whatever you're seeing in the world that is triggering fear or separation or any kind of contraction, to have compassion and to place your trust in the universe, in your own innate design, that as you are perfect. And that's the only perfection that I know of, is that in this moment, everything is showing up exactly how it's supposed to be, in accordance with the divine plan. And that's not as a way of bypassing the material reality and what's showing up in the mind of the world. But it's important to be rooted in what's real to me. Because otherwise we can't handle these storms that come in through society. You know, these mental ideas that are running the world that have no compassion and that are not connected with reality on any level. They're just man-made ideologies creating and wreaking havoc. So with Uranus there, also trine Pluto, and this is an ongoing aspect, there's an opportunity here for awakening to your unique nature, to what your unique contribution is to how things are now. And a big part of that awakening process is being willing to see in ourselves that which is not real, and also being willing to see the illusions in the outer world that are being revealed. And it's not easy, you know, because we have to feel this. It's not just an intellectual idea. It's a feeling experience. And with Uranus, it can be very powerful with Pluto, bringing us into the depths of our soul So just taking a light approach, to me, that's, if there is anything really challenging coming up, just remembering that, this is the flow of life and that everything keeps shifting and changing, and that we are perfect as we are in this moment. There's nothing wrong with us. Yes, we're a work in progress. Yes, we're waking up to reality, and we're waking up to who we are. But that's also perfect, and that we don't need to be self-critical or holding ourselves to any high standard. We can go deeper into our soul and step out of the rational mind, step into our intuition, and relate to life from there and trust our instincts and what's coming through in this full moon illumination. So other than that, I feel like there's so much going on already energetically the last few months. But just to say that this full moon is sort of like the grand finale of our lunar year. So if you're feeling tired or, exhausted in any way, it's a good time after this full moon, after this peak of energy, to just allow yourself to relax more and rest and allow this lunar year to complete. Because next month, I'm recording this on April 24th. Next month in May, we're going to have a new moon in Taurus. And this will be the beginning of the next lunar year. And the moon is very happy in Taurus. So this will be a beautiful new beginning in our lives that's going to set in motion and start to bring in the grounding and materializing of what we've been working on over this last lunar year. So it's always interesting to see what's completing at this time during this full moon. And then as we head towards the new moon in May, to see what new doors start opening, what new energy starts grounding, new love for ourselves, new levels of compassion, and seeing ourselves for who we are now with no comparison to the other and with no need to conform to what's going on in the world, but holding our own center of being. And I feel that's what all of this work, all of these energies over the last few months have been giving us the opportunity to become much stronger in who we are, for those of us that are on the path of awakening and stepping into who we are and knowing who we are in a much deeper way. This process has been very powerful and will be coming to some form of completion with this full moon. So I think that's enough for now. There's so much more that I could go into. Lastly, I will say that we have the sun in Aries, and it's at 9 degrees of Aries. And this is beautiful because this is bringing in the new energy of the new lunar year. The sun has already entered into the new year energetically, Aries being the first sign of the zodiac. And this gives us access to a lot of courage. Aries is a fire sign, so we're being supported by the sun, by the most powerful luminary, that without the sun, there's nothing in our solar system. That's why it's called a solar system, because the sun is the most important energy. And the sun right now in Aries is giving us the capacity to be the warrior of knowing who we are and finding our harmony with nature and with what reality is presenting And it's giving us the courage to face whatever's revealing itself to us, and to have the fire and the strength and the passion and the excitement, because the sun is exalted in Aries. It's very happy there. And the freshness and the newness, to have a sense of that coming in, while at the same time we're dealing with all this completion and dissolving and dissolution with all this Pisces energy that we've had for quite a long time now. So I think that's about it. Thank you so much for joining me. And of course, I do personal birth chart readings using the True Sky. I also do transit readings to shed light on the influences and opportunities available to you, specific to your unique birth chart. And I do composite readings for relationships and also for business partnerships. And I'll be back with the new moon in Taurus on May 16th. So between now and then, have a beautiful full moon. I hope you get outside and have clear skies to see it and to tune into its energies and to receive it. Virgo is a very beautiful, high vibrational energy. And if you can allow yourself to let go of any misery that the mind brings in, or any misery that the world brings in, if you can decide to let that go, Pisces, you'll find this to be one of the most blissful times, one of the most blissful full moons, where you can just be in your natural state of bliss and allow the illumination to happen.